I look at you and I think impulsive, selfish, spoiled, naive. You're on Facebook and Twitter all hours of the night. It seems like the only thing you know how to write anymore is LOL with a smiley face. How many of you have heard the equivalent of some of those words, maybe from an adult? Well, raise your hand if you think I just insulted you. Now raise your hand if you think I just praised you. Now, obviously not all adults think that of you, especially not the adults gathered here today. But unless you're extremely lucky, probably all of you have experienced, at some point in your lives, a version of wait until you're older, or get some more experience. But with the exception of selfish and spoiled, many of our so-called worst traits may actually be our best assets. For instance, we often talk about naivete as being a bad thing. During Barack Obama's presidential campaign, he was repeatedly called some version of inexperienced, naive, untested. Obama was naive enough to win. And me, before Obama's name even showed up on the radar, when I was 7 years old, I was naive enough to want to publish a book. To many, publishing seems to be an adults-only deal. Just look at a list of a major publisher's books published in a given year and ask yourself how many are under the age of 18. And there's a reason for that. Trying to get a book published really sucks. It is crazy hard. You get rejection letters, you get literary agents, publishers who don't want to work with children, and even if you do get published, no guarantee of readership. Oh, that's true when I was 7. So why would any rational, sane 7-year-old go up to their parents and say, I want to get published? Perhaps 7-year-old Adora, who did not have that high of a voice, was naive and didn't see the same problems that 14-year-old Adora does. My logic told me it could be so hard to get published, so out went the manuscripts, letters, and phone calls. And I think from my published books, Flying Fingers and Dancing Fingers, you know the ending to this story. But I wasn't done with dreaming big, being naive yet. Around the same age, when I was 7, I absolutely loved reading and writing. Reading and writing was everything to me. And it didn't ever occur to me that there could be other kids who didn't feel the same way. So when someone told me in a nonchalant voice, meh, I don't really like reading and writing, my little world kind of shattered. So instead of just sitting on the ground and being very morose about this, it's actually kind of funny to imagine, I decided I'm going to go to schools and make other kids like reading and writing. And I was actually pretty forceful about it. And of course, I was naive enough to think, yeah, Adora, you're 7, you can do that. I didn't start by reading journal articles or running surveys or crunching socioeconomic data as countless experts have done. I didn't do the expert thing because, let's face it, I wasn't an expert. I was a 7-year-old who was mad that my peers didn't like to read. I just went around to schools, preschools, kindergartens, elementary, and stood at the front of a group of 3rd graders with a bag full of stuffed animals and my imagination at the ready to spin stories with audiences of children who were sometimes taller than I was. Naivete starts to look like a pretty good word. But what about acting on impulse? What do you think of when you hear impulsive, when I call you impulsive? Maybe you think of those photos of late night partying you probably should not have posted on Facebook, or sneaking out of the house at night. But sometimes impulse can be a driving force, not for stupid decisions, but for social change. 5-year-old Phoebe Russell of San Francisco, California, perfectly exemplifies this. She was on a drive with her parents when she saw homeless people begging for food. She asked her parents, why are they so sad? And her parents replied that they were hungry, that the local food bank helped those in need. So Phoebe decided to collect cans from friends, classmates, relatives, even total strangers. And she raised enough money through can refunds to donate money to the San Francisco Food Bank and feed 18,000 meals. 18,000 meals. Wouldn't you like to have those kinds of impulses? Imagine how many problems we could solve, how much better the world could become. Here's another question for you. How would you like to see millions of trees being planted in your city? Well, such a dream came true for 9-year-old Felix Finkbeiner because of his big dream, his impulse. In 2009, he spoke at the UN General Assembly to launch a campaign titled Stop Talking, Start Planting, part of his giant initiative called Plant for the Planet, a student initiative to green the earth by planting trees. So far, over 3 million trees have been planted by kids from over 70 different countries. From Phoebe and Felix's stories, we can learn about the value of seeing a problem and taking immediate action to solve it. What are problems you see in your schools, in your communities, in your world? The question is, are you naive enough to think that you can solve them, and impulsive enough to, thanks Nike, just do it? Luckily, there's a tool that many of us are super good at that can enable us to do exactly that: social networking. Many of you probably have already seen the power of social networking exemplified by some of the amazing people speaking here. Not to call myself amazing, you can, but in all seriousness, this September I organized another TEDx conference, TEDx Redmond, also for youth. Not quite as well organized as this amazing conference, but it was a really fun experience, and it all started kind of with a Facebook message. I sent out this message asking for committee members saying, hey, I'm planning to organize TEDx Redmond again this year, and from there on, technology was in constant use. We used Google Docs to organize our committee and subcommittee. We posted a trailer video on YouTube and sent it via social networking and email. We tweeted, Facebooked, Skyped, live streamed. I think it's true to say that TEDx Redmond would not have happened in the form that we know it without the internet. You might be hearing this and thinking, well, that's not realistic. I'm not just going to go home and open up Facebook and start a conference. The point is not about the scale of the action you take, it's the intention that matters. I want to tell you a story about someone I know. Funnily enough, we didn't get along at all. I thought he was the epitome of evil and misbehavior, and that was putting it lightly. And so I haven't seen him for quite a while until I got this Facebook event message, and it said orphanage fundraiser. As it turned out, this kid, whom I'd always thought of as basically my arch enemy, was doing a triathlon to raise money for a clean water source for a Southeast Asian orphanage. And he was using Facebook to share out the event, solicit donations, and publish a list of sponsors. So going from epitome of evil and misbehavior to, that's actually really sweet. Now, on a less serious note, how many of you have used Facebook to share an event, send out party invites, anything like that? How many of you have done a Facebook event? I've seen some raised hands. Well, my older sister, Adriana, sent out her... Oops. My older sister, Adriana, I think this is actually, sorry, this is an old version of my Prezi. Yeah, I actually updated it the second time, but I'll continue. My older sister, Adriana, sent out her birthday invites via Facebook, but she sent out something else as well. She asked her friends to, in addition or instead of a present, to give a donation to the world's youngest headmaster, Indian student and teacher Babar Ali, who set up a school in his neighborhood to give an education to students who are too poor or too busy to attend regular school. My fellow speaker, Alec Lors, spread the word about his revolutionary I Matter March in May of this year, not only through his speeches and the movement's website, but through Facebook and Twitter. Now, the thing that these stories have in common is that they're close to home. These are ordinary kids who lead ordinary lives, but it's the actions that we take to help others, large or small, online or off, that can make all of us extraordinary. So next time your parents scold you for wasting time online, being on Facebook and Twitter all hours of the night, say you're launching a social media campaign to end sexism or fight world hunger, and as long as you actually start that campaign, you'll be pretty hard to argue with. From this social networking discussion, it would be easy to imagine that children and young adults taking responsibility for our world is a relatively new trend, but it's not. Children, teens, and 20-somethings have pushed limits since ancient times. At age 16, Alexander the Great was entrusted with taking care of the country while his dad was away, and he actually repressed a rebellion and managed to lead the country successfully. 16-year-olds in the audience, come on, I don't see you guys leading small countries. Okay, so admittedly we know being a dictator is a bad idea now, but still. Another Alexander, this one from the United States, also started early. Do we have any American history students here? Yes, you should know about Alexander Hamilton. He was writing for the local newspaper at 14, writing political pamphlets at 18, talked a mob out of attacking the president of King's College at 19, and by 22 was a lieutenant colonel and an aide-de-camp to George Washington. Talk about an overachiever at a young age. Now, despite all these constant examples of awesome young people, whether Felix Finkbeiner, Alexander Hamilton, or Alexander the Great, adult thinkers, authorities, and experts over time have constantly emphasized how much better adults are, how much value is experience and waiting until you're older. But experience and age, or lack of it, shouldn't count against us. We have as much to teach our elders as they have to teach us. maybe just in different areas. The most obvious example, stand up if you've ever helped an adult with something technology related before. Could have been your teacher, could have been a parent, whoever. Well, I know from experience how much adults have to learn from kids in this area. When my dad wanted to set up his Facebook account, my sister and I took initiative to show him, and he became a fan pretty quickly. This is my dad. Well, maybe too quickly. Yeah, this is a windswept picture, Teotihuacan, New Mexico, so yeah, it was windy. Once he started liking every single photo that we were posting, then my sister put him on her family list, which is essentially the Siberian exile of Facebook list. Well, a lot of people have derided social networking for exactly that, the ability to cordon off your family members and how you're going to be just into your computer and not talking to family members in person. But to tell the truth, getting my parents involved in technology opened up a whole other world of talking in person because suddenly they were part of a world, a side that they hadn't seen before. Technology provides a way for adults and kids to engage in interesting conversations and learn from each other, reciprocal learning. Though sure, this is an obvious and everyday way in which adults can learn from young people, it doesn't stop there. Some of the most powerful things that adults have to learn from young people are the intangible things. Our optimism, audacity to dream, determination to accomplish. As the American author Pearl Buck said, this is the old version of the president. As the American author Pearl Buck said, the young do not know enough to be proven, and therefore they attempt the impossible and achieve it generation after generation. So next time someone calls you naive with a dismissive wave or frown on their face, smile and say thank you. Maybe they have something to learn from us. What is it that we can teach our elders? Maybe it's that enviable startup attitude, that I'm already broke, so it can't hurt to start a company outlook. Maybe it's the ease with which we weave social networking into doing social good. Maybe it's that naive, inexperienced, impulsive can be good words. Let's all take action, not only to redefine ourselves, but also the world we live in.